and welcome to MeetRx Success Stories podcast. I'm host and coach Amanda Lea, and I'm honored to introduce our guest today. With more than 750 books and articles, this guest has been cited more than 19,000 times in scientific literature. He has an H index of 71 and has been rated an A1 scientist by the National Research Foundation of South Africa for a second 5-year term. Now in his retirement, he's active and has a passion for running half marathons when he can. It's super special to speak with you about your diet success story, Tim Noakes.
Thank you so much, Amanda. It's lovely to be with you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your enthusiasm. I love your enthusiasm already.
Thank you. It's my privilege. So first, we'd love to hear all about your diet and health before you began eating the way you currently do.
Okay, so I was never really interested in physical activity of the hard type until I went to university, and then I started rowing. And whilst I was rowing, I started running, and I fell in love with running. And in South Africa, the goal is to run a race of 56 miles. It's the Comrades Marathon, which is a very, very complex race. It's very hilly, and it's run in the heat of the day, etc. And so eventually I got to run that. But at that time, we believed you should eat a high carbohydrate diet for the last 3 days before the event. But as I recall, we didn't eat all that much carbohydrate with training. The whole goal was you continued doing what you normally ate. And then for the last 3 days before the race, you ate a high carbohydrate diet. And using that diet, I was very successful initially, but then I've started to eat more carbohydrates during the training period. And then I noticed my performances started to drop. And it didn't take long for the performance to drop quite a lot. And then I started to put on weight and all the other factors that we all know about. And ultimately, after 33 years or so, I developed type 2 diabetes. Now, it's interesting that my mother was very much on the carnivorous diet. So she was from Liverpool, and her father had been in the business of selling meat. And so I was raised on lots of meat, and also offal and liver and brains. And we always had kidneys or livers or brains to eat for breakfast. Then I went to medical school and I became clever. And I worked with cardiologists. And this was 1976 when the dietary guidelines changed, 1977. That's exactly when I started my education. And so, of course, I'd had to change because the professor of cardiology was teaching me, and he was saying, you mustn't eat margarine. And you mustn't eat fat. And so we all converted to margarine. And so I ate that for 33 years. Then what happened, fortunately, one evening I went to bed. I just sent off the proofs of my book to the book called Waterlog, which had been a 30-year exploration of what you should be drinking during running. And we had proven that you mustn't overdrink and you mustn't drink too much sugary drinks and so on. And that didn't seem to make any difference. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and my brain said to me, you must get up tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock and you must go and run, and you mustn't stop running for the rest of your life. And I always listen to my brain when it tells me that. So I got up at 5 to 6, I went and ran, and I had the worst run of my career. And we have a small little hill outside of my house. And when I reached the top of it, I used to be a really good hill runner. We reached the top, I thought I was going to die of heart attack or something, and I thought I was at the top of Mount Everest. So I went home, and this is one of those chance events that you can't explain how this happens. So I opened my emails, and in those days you would get adverts, and there was a book advert, and it said lose 6 pounds in 6 weeks without hunger. And it was an advert for Eric Westman's book, The New Atkins for the New Year. And I was so angry. I wanted to throw away my computer. I was so angry. So I said, this man is sold out to Atkins. And he's a good scientist. How can he do it? Telling us to eat saturated fat. So I went and bought the book. And I brought it home. So that took 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back. Come home. I opened the book. And just on the introduction, I started to think, oops, we got a problem. Then I read it. And within 2 hours, I said, I got it wrong for 33 years. And I told my wife, I'm not having any more carbohydrates.
Wow.
So my lunch on that day was the first low carbs. So what happened was I started feeling better immediately. I mean, instantaneously. And that's because I was clearly diabetic and I didn't realize it. And I started reversing the effects of the diabetes. And my running, it was like someone give me a heart transplant. I mean, it was astonishing because I went back 20 years. Of course, I keep records. And I was running at 60. I was suddenly running again like I had at 40. So all this 20 years deterioration I thought was aging. It wasn't aging. It was this dreadful diet that I was eating. And I got a new running life. It was amazing. So for a number of years, I ran really well. And that was fantastic. And I could not believe it. So, of course, when that sort of thing happens, you have to try and tell people. Eventually, they saw I'd lost so much weight. They said, "How did you do it? Have you got cancer?" So I had to say, "No, I don't have cancer." So,
I've got health.
yeah, but health. And then, of course, I started writing about it. And then that caused me all sorts of conflicts with my profession, which are well described.
Wow.
But the change, but just to get back to the story, my father died of type 2 diabetes and I watched him die. And of course, I couldn't help him because I didn't understand the disease. And I thought the doctors knew how to treat him. Now I realize he died because of the treatment. But he took 10 years to die. And my diagnosis of diabetes is now over 10 years. So I should be dead. I shouldn't be talking to you tonight.
Wow.
I should be dead. And as far as I gather, I'm reasonably healthy and don't have any obvious indications that I've got complications of diabetes.
Thank God.
And so that's what the diet's done for me. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Wow, what a story. And thanks for Eric Westman. That really, really extra thanks to him. But man, margarine, hey, I grew up on margarine because we thought that was the healthy thing. Oh, so that's great. So can you tell us more about the details about how you eat now? How do you implement your current way of eating with low carb? You know, where do you stand on issues around animal nutrition and fat?
Yeah, so originally I would have just cut the carbs and cut the processed foods, and I would be eating 3 meals a day. And I would still be having quite a lot of milk, I think. And then as I got more and more interested in trying to reverse my diabetes, I cut the milk, I cut all the carbohydrates, and eventually it removed most of the vegetables. So I have a predominantly carnivore diet at the moment, and I don't see any reason to change. So the things I don't do, I've not done sugar for 10 years. I was a good sugar addict, but 10 years it's gone. And I don't have any sweetness. I don't like the sweet taste. I don't eat anything that tastes sweet. And because I know that I'll slip back if I don't think I would slip back. I'm too disciplined, but I might have 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So there's no sugar, there's no alcohol also because I see that as a high carbohydrate fuel as well. So it's eggs. So I eat basically meat, dairy, eggs, nuts. The only carbohydrates I eat are probably nuts, some vegetables. And I presume I've said eggs, but it's meat, fish, eggs, dairy, some vegetables, and nuts. Those are the 6 foods. And I eat one cooked meal a day.
Oh, okay.
And the rest I will maybe snack a second time, but otherwise nothing. So that, I'm eating, my calorie consumption I know has dropped at least 30 to 40%.
Wow.
From when I was a little bit heavier. I lost 22 kilograms, which is about 50 pounds.
Wow.
Which was astonishing. Yeah.
How long have you been eating this way now?
10 years. I've been on this diet for 10 years. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I think I'm more carnivorous for the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
And my glucose control improved as I've become more carnivorous.
That makes perfect sense. And so have you gotten back into all those organs you used to have for breakfast? Is that part of the...
No, actually not, because it's a little bit difficult to cook it and so on. So that I haven't actually got into that. I haven't really gone into all the components of the carnivorous diet. So it's just really meat, eggs, and fish.
It might bring back some nice memories, though, if you go into that. That's nice.
No, exactly, yeah. So, but I don't. If I'm eating out, I will definitely look for those foods.
Got it. So the fasting is not intentional per se. Is it just that you end up only eating one meal because of your hunger, or is that intentional?
I don't even get hungry anymore. I just, it's kind of like I know I'm going to eat once a day, and so we prepare the meal once a day, and I eat it. But I've not been hungry for many years now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And despite the fact that I've cut the calories dramatically.
So how
So,
about salt? What's your salt intake like?
yeah, no, I definitely increased my salt intake. And
Oh,
I do take some supplements as well. I take vitamin K3 and D3 and K2, and I think those are essential
great
for
to know.
protecting the heart, protecting the coronary arteries, and increasing bone mass. And so at the age of 71 and a half, I watched the people around me my age who've been on the high carb diet, and they're all becoming shrunken and osteopenic, and the muscles are sarcopenic.
Yeah.
And I try to prevent that. So I've also added high intensity CrossFit training, which has made a huge difference. Yeah.
Really?
And so, yeah. So I don't think running is the ideal activity for someone my age. I think it's much more important that you do high intensity training, which hurts, and that's what's good.
Yes, that's so true. But that's really neat that you love running still and that you have done half marathons. That's very phenomenal for me. It's not my area. So very impressive.
I still enjoy my running, and running is contemplative, and I get a lot of relaxation from it. So, but I think that the physiological benefits are much more from high intensity exercise of short duration and lifting weights, which I mean, if you'd asked me that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have said that's madness.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Shawn says the same thing. I'm learning something from him all the time about that. So
Yeah.
I guess it sounds like the impact of this way of eating has been phenomenal. It sounds like it's been very positive for you. Have there been any impacts on your life? We know it's impacted your life because you tried to share it with everybody. Are there other ways it's impacted your life, your family, your just being, any other ways that this way of eating has impacted you apart from your professional?
Yeah, no, the whole family follows it to lesser or better extents, and I think that's been very helpful for them, because we have the diabetes gene came straight from me, from my father to me, to my family, and so they have to be very cautious about it.
Yeah,
and they're taking it seriously, which is great. If I hadn't got the disease, we wouldn't have known to do it. So yes, there've been huge advantages. I mean, I honestly believe I would be dead, or I would have lost a limb by now.
wow.
And there's no reason why I wouldn't have, because my dad died and he was only 6 years older than me, but he picked up the disease later than I did, because I don't think he ate as much carbohydrate as I did, because he came from the north, and they ate lots of north of England. They ate lots of fat and meat, and he continued to eat the meat while I was eating the carbs, because of course I went and lived with my wife elsewhere.
Right. Well, good for you for switching that legacy up. Wow, that's amazing. You should be proud. I'm sure you're very proud of your family, but the impact you've had on all of us, that's where I'm so honored. So it's been super special hearing your story. Is there anything else that we haven't covered about your success that you want to share for others who are listening to consider?
Sorry, the internet connection fell down. Could you repeat that? You looked so enthusiastic.
Of course. Is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like our listeners to consider?
Yeah, I think that sleep is important, and there are other lifestyle factors that you should consider. I think being out in the sun is very important.
Yes.
So it's not just diet, but without the diet, all the rest is irrelevant. So I think if you want to optimize your health, the diet's number one, exercise, diet's number 1, 2, and 3. And then exercise comes in, and then sleep and all these other factors, and, have a good social life. Yes. Those are all terribly important, and be optimistic and be humorous, enjoy humor, and so on.
I can't agree with you more. That's wonderful. Yeah. So before we let you go, Professor Noakes, please remind us and our audience how to find you and follow you online.
Absolutely. So the Noakes Foundation we started, and so that's one way to look at what we're up to. I am on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Prof Tim Noakes. I'm cutting back a little there because I've spent so much time in the last 8 years that I now need to write some more books and things. And I'm hoping to start a new Twitter handle called @Law of Running. And the reason is that because I want to revise my book. The Law of Running is ranked the 9th greatest book ever written on running.
Wow.
And it's time for a revision. And what I'm going to see if I can get social media to help me, people to write to me and tell me what they think should be in the book, and
Oh,
share their stories and share their information. So that's what I'm planning. That's going to be my next challenge in the next few months and years.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's a great challenge. I'm sure people will be excited to jump on helping you with that.
Absolutely.
Undoubtedly. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing your diet success story with us today, Tim Noakes.
Thank you. Lovely to chat to you. Thank you so much. And thanks for your enthusiasm and for taking this message to the world, which is so, so important.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Feel fab.
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda. Bye-bye.